Okay, just send it. Go ahead and turn your mic on and we'll get started. Okay, everyone, as you can see, I'm sitting with the Mandalorian. So it's time to start the end zone. Welcome to Chiefs Corner, official or technically known as the end zone.
No, I don't think so.
Wait. No, no. You are only allowed to speak one thing while you're wearing the helmet.
This is the way.
The Chiefs are the champs.
Raider Nation for life.
No, sorry.
Just win, baby. Commitment to excellence.
No. One thing. That was like 5 or 6.
Raider Nation forever. Yeah, that's what it is, man.
How about you live in a world where Chiefs are champs?
Did you spill some ketchup on that shirt? What's going on?
Oh, it's a sad state of denial you live in, Mr. Reitzel.
No, this is man? Not Endzone is back.
Yes, it is the year of the champion Chiefs here on the Endzone, much to Mr. Reitzel's dismay.
You know what, dude? It's true. Enjoy it while you can, but a new season starts. You are now the defending Super Bowl champs. So now everyone has to try and is gunning for you.
Well, yeah, but you know what? We've got the ultimate gunslinger anyway, so it's all good. You know, and we brought in the child this year,
That's
Mr.
Right.
Edward. We have Mr. Edwards Hilaire, the child this year, who's going to just light up some.
I don't know who you're talking about. That's the real. Actually, that's just Baby Yoda. We're gonna call him Baby Yoda.
Yeah, you know, if the real child is back here with Baymax sporting some Chiefs championship gear. If you can see that. But no, welcome to the End Zone. We are finally here with a new season after what was a very long COVID-filled offseason, Mr. Mandalorian.
Yes, it looks like we're finally going to get a season. By the way, I'm going to take a screenshot, so say hi.
Hello.
There we go. Cool. Yeah, dude, I mean, we're going to have football, it looks like, man.
That's what it's looking like. The NFL actually released their latest batch of COVID testing results, and only one player came up with COVID. They haven't named the player.
Yeah, I know that like over the last month or so, and by the way, I'm not going to keep this helmet on the whole time because it's getting a little warm in here. But yes, there have been very low cases. At the most that I remember, like during, I think at the beginning of spring training, we were like maybe between 10 and 12. Then it started to go down and down. And so they've been very serious about the COVID testing, getting tested every day. And if you watch Hard Knocks with the Chargers and, of course, for the Rams, you see how serious that testing is going. So let's see if it works.
Yes, absolutely. But let's get a little business out of the way before we talk a little pigskin, which means telling you not only where you can find the End Zone, which has a little change to it this year, which we'll explain shortly, but all the other great shows on the Fandom Podcast Network. And it all starts at our homepage at fpnet.podbean.com. Of course, you can also use the Podbean app and just search for the Fandom Podcast Network. Mr. Black Saber over there also will find it on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Tuned In, and Amazon Music. Of course, too, you can visit our Facebook page where you find all the great news going on in fandom and a little football news here and there, too. Of course, you can follow the Fandom Podcast Network on Twitter at FanPod Network. He is definitely not worthy of carrying that hammer, no matter what he says. I think it's just a cheap knockoff. Yeah, it is a cheap knockoff.
Whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of the Raiders.
Which still doesn't counteract the power of the Mahomes, but that's a whole other story. Of course, I'm Kyle. You can find me on Twitter at AKyleW or on Instagram under AKyleFandom. Mando, Hammer Boy.
I'm trying to hit you from across the country, and it's not working.
I'm protected by the power of the champions.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to try and get you with the dark saber. Hold on. There we go.
Nope. Sorry. The Mahomes Dome is around me.
All right. I'll get you sooner or later.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Where can people find you on social media, Mando?
Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Spartan_Phoenix. And, of course, on the Fandom Podcast Network and all the YouTube stuff that we're on and doing right now.
Yeah, and your TV show's about a month away, isn't it?
Oh, October 30th. The Mandalorian returns. As of today, new pictures came out, and I'm actually going to be releasing an exclusive picture taken from behind-the-scenes set of The Mandalorian that was only leaked to me from Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, and I'll be sharing that right after this podcast on my social media.
Okay. You can also support the Fandom Podcast Network. You can go to TeePublic, visit our store, search for the Fandom Podcast Network, where you can find logos of not only the End Zone, but all the great shows. And you can get it on shirts, on masks, on pillows, on laptop cases, hoodies. We're getting it. Bill Belichick loves the End Zone hoodie we sent him, Kevin, by the way.
Yeah, but I think he cut the sleeves off of it, right?
He usually does. Yeah. Usually does that, but go to tpublic.com, search for the Fandom Podcast Network. And of course, Apple Podcasts, we love to get those reviews there. We love those 5-star reviews, but of course, any reviews help because as always, we're striving to make better podcasts and YouTube content to feed your ears. And of course, yes, if you're watching us, you realize, hey, we are on the YouTube now, and we'd love to have your subscription. The more subscribers, the more fun we get to have with the YouTube channel. So subscribe. It'll keep you notified when we do live things. In fact, Kevin, we have something very special live coming up on the Fandom Podcast Network at the end of the week. Do you have your wax?
Yes, so we're very, very excited about this. First of all, we want to include a lot of exclusives for our YouTube channel. And one of those is one of the more popular podcasts on the Fandom Podcast Network is Couch Potato Theater, where we celebrate all of our favorite movies. And with the wonderful breakaway success, even though we knew how good it was when we used to watch it while it was on YouTube subscription, is Cobra Kai. Both seasons are out on Netflix. We're going to get season 3 next year in 2021. And we want to celebrate the original Karate Kid. And if you watch Cobra Kai, you'll understand how much is taken from that film and how it is a wonderful, it's basically kind of a really cool current day sequel to everything. Everyone that you see in there is almost coming back, and it's great. But anyway, we're going to be doing Karate Kid live on Culture Clash on Friday, September 11th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time and 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time, doing a Couch Potato Theater talking about the Karate Kid.
Yeah, we'll find out just how well you know how to sweep the leg there, Mr. Mando. So I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I'm going to take off my helmet because I'm getting hot.
Yeah, I was going to say I think it's fair. Advance warning to anybody watching: Kevin's taking off the helmet.
Now, hold on before I take it off though. I think the hottest I've ever experienced is when you and I went to see the Raiders versus Tampa Bay in Tampa. Do you remember how hot it was that day?
Oh, and there's no cover in Tampa at all. And for those of you watching who don't know, I live just about half an hour south of Tampa Bay, Florida. Of course, now it's called Tom Brady, Florida, but that's a
Yes.
whole other thing we'll get to. But yeah, go
Or
ahead and take the mask off because I don't want you
Tomtown.
overheating.
Woo! Yeah, there you go. Ah! I love this thing. All right.
Yes, no, he wore full Mandalorian armor. And what was even worse, as hot as it was, the fact that the game went into overtime and went almost the full 15 minutes of the overtime.
That was crazy, dude. I think I lost 10 pounds that game.
Yeah, you looked like you were about to collapse by the time we were done. So,
but you know, it was funny too, because so many people wanted pictures, both Tampa and Raider fans, and a lot of families and kids came up. It was worth it though.
yeah. Well, it's been a crazy offseason. Obviously, we have had some interesting moves in the NFL. We have Tom Brady and Tampa now. Patrick Mahomes got paid. Chiefs got their Super Bowl rings. Chris Jones got paid.
Yeah.
Andy Reid got paid. Everybody on Kansas City got paid, apparently.
By the way, I just breaking news. I just got word. I don't know how serious it is, but Von Miller has an injury during practice, so I don't know how bad that is.
Well, you know, I'd be fine if Von Miller wasn't playing. Yeah. I don't think Derek Carr would mind not seeing Von Miller.
Real quick shout out to the chat, of course. Jennifer, you know, as we nickname her, Jennifer, the Queen Beatdown. She's in the chat, and also Alex. Alex is in there. Alex Mendoza. What's up, buddy? So yeah.
Yeah, Alex, welcome to the Chiefs Champs podcast.
Nah.
Right?
No,
right,
not having that. Raider Nation, baby, right over here.
No.
We're coming after you.
There's no place for third.
Go Raiders, Alex.
So let's hit a little league news here, and let's start with the fact that the young quarterbacks have been getting paid. It started about a month, maybe 6 weeks ago. Patrick Mahomes became the highest paid professional athlete, getting a 12-year, up to $503 million contract extension. Yet it only counts like a couple million on the Chiefs cap this year because he actually stayed under his rookie contract to help salary cap.
Because you know he's going to get paid, and they want to make sure they can retain a lot of the people on that team for their another championship run, and see if they can make it. So
yeah, well, and what's great about
you also signed Andy Reid, and also your president too,
right? The GM, Brett
GM, yeah.
Chris Jones got signed to a 4-year.
Your tight end got signed.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill got signed. You know, like I said, the core is in place for the next 5 years in Kansas City. So
well, let's hope they don't sit on that pile of money and get lazy.
Well, you know, I don't think so. I mean, you know, 5 straight years of championships, heads might explode after the repeat of that's coming.
Chickens, eggs hatching. Come on, dude. It is so tough to repeat, man.
Yeah, oh no, I won't argue that. But then again, this is going to be one of the most bizarre NFL seasons ever. But
by the way, Jennifer just said Von Miller's going in under an MRI. There's fear that he might be done for the season. We'll see and wait for the MRI. We'll see.
And he almost opted out from COVID too.
Yeah,
so that's interesting. But another young quarterback got paid just a few days ago. The Houston Texans gave Deshaun Watson a 4-year, $160 million contract extension with nearly $111 million in guarantees, trailing only Patrick Mahomes.
What a good kid, you know, went through that horrible injury, great player. I know that he was one of those quarterbacks that was like, come on, when's it going to happen?
Yeah. He wasn't quite as bad as Dak Prescott. But
no.
Who's still waiting for it to happen. Franchise
Dak has ruffled some feathers. I think he's just gonna keep getting tagged. We'll see.
Yeah, but Kevin, let's talk about this for a second because I really think this is the year we fully see the transition from the Brady, Breeze, Rodgers era to like the Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson era. I mean, I think Jackson still got a little bit to prove. I need to see him do it again, and he really hasn't done it in the playoffs yet.
If you're talking about elite quarterbacks always being competitive, yes. The thing with Andy Reid, he's not obviously there yet when it comes to elite coaches, but he's definitely got the pedigree for it, and he's got the team to back it up. So, but Yeah, it'll be interesting, but I'm not counting out Belichick yet.
Well, I'm not counting up, but I'm talking more of the elite quarterbacks. I
Yeah.
think this is a year that, we see a few go off into the sunset or hit their twilight years, and you see the new generation coming up. But speaking of getting paid, DeAndre Hopkins, who was traded from the Texans to the Cardinals in the offseason in one of the strangest trades of the offseason, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Well, the Cardinals made sure he's staying around at least for a couple of years. He got a 2-year, $54.5 million extension with $45 million of it guaranteed, Mr. Reitzel.
2 years, $45 million guaranteed.
He's going to make $27.5 million on each year of this contract, and then there's incentives.
You had mentioned before we went on that that makes him the highest paid non-quarterback.
Yes.
Per year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
That's going to change, I think, this offseason, because I believe both Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley might be up for contracts.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think they got something there in Arizona. I mean, so we'll see. But I'm not going to crown Arizona like everyone seems to do at the beginning of the year and say, oh, they're going to be going deep in the playoffs, and then nothing happens. I mean, let's.
No, but I'll tell you what. I think Arizona Cardinal games with Kyler Murray and that offense are going to be fun to watch.
Oh, definitely. I'm not gonna shame them for that, but just let's let them lay some groundwork first, and let's see what they do, because that's a tough division they're in.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that trade, because you had DeAndre Hopkins, who many consider the best wide receiver in the NFL, with Kim kind of running neck and neck with Michael Thomas of the Saints, traded for David Johnson, who's the last 2 years has just been nowhere near what, between injuries and just lack of production. What did you think? That trade just seemed like it was more of, let's get this DeAndre out of here because we don't want to pay him the money and get something for him.
I think that's part of it, because they knew that his contract was coming up. I don't think that they wanted to. I think it was a financial decision. It's the same, it's kind of along those same reasons why the Raiders needed to trade, Mr. 52 2 years ago. It was a financial decision to kind of like, let's not throw too much money into a bunch of people, because obviously they were looking to pay their quarterback first.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of extensions, one more that I just found interesting. Kareem Hunt, the former Chiefs running back, who found himself in some trouble. Some video, of course, came out of him. Hopefully he's learned his lesson. I'm not sure about this. He's had a couple run-ins with the law since this event with a young lady happened. But he got a 2-year contract extension from Cleveland that's going to pay him about $6-7 million a season. I find this interesting because Cleveland has what a lot of people consider one of the top young running backs in the NFL, and Nick Chubb, Kevin.
Why not have two good ones? We'll see. I mean, and it's only a 2-year contract. And I forgot you had mentioned earlier too, before we started recording, that he's from the area. He was like Akron. Is that where he's
Akron? Yeah, I believe
that's where he's from. So, I mean, they want to, I mean, having two great running backs like that in case one gets injured, and I mean, do it,
Yeah. Just want to check in from the chat. Jennifer, who is kind of our background producer here sometimes for this show.
Yeah. She did some research for us earlier, and we're going to talk about that. So should we give her a title? Should we give her like a,
well, she's Chief Stomp right now. And I mean, that's
that's her handle, but should we call her like the end zone? Like
she's the end zone stat guy.
Well, stat gal.
Stat gal,
yeah.
Stat gal.
I don't know. What do you want? What do you want your title to be, Jennifer? We'll go with it. So,
but see. she's just reporting that it is Von Miller's ankle, and it is very serious.
That's too bad.
It sounds like it might be an Achilles.
Yeah, that's nasty.
Yeah. So finally, one of the things that I was kind of interested in following the season, Kevin, is always the NFL broadcasting rights, because we obviously have the Fox and the CBS and NBC and NFL Network and stuff like that, but there's also the streaming rights, and those have been kind of tied up with the DirecTV situation and the NFL Sunday Ticket. And I know Amazon's been streaming a few games during the season the last few years. However, last year there was a couple ways to watch the NFL Network and the NFL Red Zone streaming, and that included Sling TV as well as Fubo TV, which, if you're not familiar with Fubo, is a lot more sports-centric streaming TV service.
Right.
Well, it was just down to Fubo TV this year, and a lot of people don't really jump on Fubo because it's not one of the higher end streaming services. You don't get a real great HD feed, and it's mostly sports heavy. And they wanted like $70 a month for their package, and like I said, there's a lot of channels they don't get. However, just this week, the NFL reached an agreement with YouTube TV, which they have a very good streaming TV service, and the NFL Network will be part of regular YouTube TV service. And for the new $10 a month attachment sports package for YouTube TV, you can get the Red Zone channel as well. So you do have an alternative than to going to cable to watch the NFL Network and the Red Zone channel this season.
You know, what's interesting was that there was a discussion I was listening to, and I know that you like the Red Zone. I know that Jennifer likes the Red Zone. A bunch of people do, but they only show the scoring. They don't really, or like maybe a good sack or two, that you don't really get a good idea of the flow of the game and some of the other great stuff that goes on. Do you find that weird to just watch with all those different scoring thing going on instead of just committing to one or two games during the day?
Well, so here's the thing with the way the NFL has kind of balanced things out. Yes, in the early games you get a lot more of the scoring and it kind of bounces around, but the Red Zone has kind of started to stick to games that are a little bit more competitive as the day goes along.
Yeah.
And then by the time you get to the afternoon games, what I tend to find is if the national game in your area is the main televised game, you can get a lot of coverage from the other 4:30 games because there's only like 2 or 3 going on. So you get a lot of coverage from all those games. So yeah, maybe you don't get quite into the flow of the game, but I still like being able to kind of see if like the national game is not competitive and they won't switch because of television rights or anything like that. You have that option. And this year, you know, with Thursday night games, with Sunday night games, Monday night games, and how they balance out Sundays, I'm looking forward to the Red Zone this year. Plus, I really do think Scott Hansen, who hosts the Red Zone channel, does a phenomenal job with that kind of product.
Nathaniel, Mr. Lurker there, he's in there. He says that Red Zone is on YouTube TV now, and he's a big fan of it as well. So
yeah, I think it's a very popular thing, especially for the fantasy players as well. Speaking of TV, Kevin, one thing I didn't put in the notes, but I want to bring up real quick. ESPN has a new booth for Monday Night Football this year. They've out as Tessitore and Booger McFarland. Thank you, Lord.
Oh God, I could not stand Booger McFarland. I know, great guy, but man,
he's good. Booger's great. Booger was great on college football. I will give him that, and I think he brought some knowledge. It's just his personality, and it's hard to take anybody seriously.
So who's the ESPN Monday Night crew? Do we know that?
We do know that actually, and it starts with ESPN veteran Steve Levy taking over the play-by-play calling.
That's a good call.
Steve
I like
Levy,
that guy.
Great. Yeah, he does great work on college football, does great work on the NHL. Brian Greasy is also joining the booth.
Is he the color analyst?
One of them. It's going to be a 3-man booth this year. Greasy's
any chance of Dennis Miller coming back?
No, Dennis Miller. Damn, sorry.
All right.
Greasy's very good on been very good on college football, and I know he's done some pro games as well. He's very good. But the one I'm excited about is somebody who I think brings a ton of NFL knowledge, and I love seeing him on like NFL Live and other things. Louis Riddick is going to be the 3rd man in the booth.
Interesting.
And I think he's going to bring an interesting perspective with his front office background, kind of like what Mike Mayock did when he was working for the NFL Network.
That's true. So they're still planning on traveling to all of the games and setting up there. And hopefully a COVID. Are they going to practice social distancing?
I believe so.
Are they going to be wearing masks while doing this?
I don't, but I'm sure the booth will be fine. But you know,
they're going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, stand over there.
Keep your distance. Keep your distance.
Melee distance. There we go. You over there. There we go.
So, Kevin, let's talk about the season's about to start. We're going to give some season preview here, but before we do anything, I found a couple different power rankings here to discuss. Kevin really doesn't want to discuss this topic. I think I might know why. Because a certain defending, undisputed Super Bowl champ is ranked number 1 in every power rankings. So I am at the NFL.com power rankings first. We're going to go with the top 10 there. We've got Kansas City Chiefs coming in at number 1.
For good reason. I got to say it. For good reason. Everyone, they proved their spot.
I don't agree with their number 2, though. They have the San Francisco 49ers coming in at number 2 this year.
Interesting. Okay.
Coming in at number 3 is a team I would actually rank number 2, and that is the Baltimore Ravens.
The ones that knocked off the Patriots in the playoff last year.
Coming in at number 4, the New Orleans Saints. Number 5, the Tennessee Titans, who knocked off the Ravens in the playoffs last year. Number 6, this one's for you, Bob, the Buffalo Bills.
At number 6, wow.
Number 7, the Dallas Cowboys. Number 8, the Green Bay Packers. Number 9, Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. And rounding out the top 10 for the NFL.com power rankings is the Minnesota Vikings. A couple teams of note, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Tom Brady are coming in at number 13. Let's see here.
I keep scrolling down to find the Raiders. I'm scrolling. You're at number 20. Las Vegas Raiders are at number 20. So until they prove otherwise, that's fine.
Now, let's go to the one Kevin and I always find the most interesting because they pull some weird stuff. That is the CBS Sports Power Rankings, Kevin.
Yes.
Of course, coming in at number 1, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
However, coming in at number 2, the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I don't know about that. And they tend to be trending up, they say.
By 5 spots from their last power rankings.
Yeah.
I'm kind of trying to figure that out. Coming in at number 3, the New Orleans Saints. I can roll with that. Number 4, the San Francisco 49ers. Number 5, moving up 10 spots from their last power rankings.
Wow.
The Pittsburgh Steelers. Big Bren's got to prove he's healthy. Number 6, the Baltimore Ravens. Number 7, the Buffalo Bills. Number 8, the Philadelphia Eagles. Number 9, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 10, the Seattle Seahawks. And let's see here. Kevin's Raiders come in at number 22. With the quote, new city, same quarterback.
Interesting. Wow, the Rams are at 21 and the Patriots are at 20. Interesting. Vikings are all the way down. Remember, the Vikings were on at 10 on the NFL one, and they're on 19 here on this one. This is weird. I don't like this one.
This one's, well, that's why we keep this one, because this one's like, this is the Twilight Zone version of the power.
This is kind of like going back to see what Roger Ebert says to films in the 80s and the 90s.
Exactly.
It's funny.
And, you know, this would be usually the time we talk about a lot of player movement because there's a lot of roster cuts and things like that. But not a lot of player movement. But one big one, though, was the Jacksonville Jaguars cutting former number 1 pick Leonard Fournette at the beginning of the week.
They were trying to trade him.
Yeah, nobody was willing to bite. And he ends up signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to just going across state. I think that's the Tom Brady influence in there.
Yeah, I think that probably he was saying to Bruce, like, yeah, I don't know about this Ronald Jones guy that you keep saying is your guy. We want another is your guy.
What's funny is Tampa Bay beat reporter Greg Allman today interviewed Leonard Fournette, and to quote Leonard Fournette, "For the first time in my entire football career, I'm playing with a real quarterback."
Yeah. By the way, I want to go to the chat real quick because I've been seeing this guy go a little bit higher and higher on the draft board. And Nathaniel said Alan Lazard. He's saying that he's going to have a big impact. So
see, the one I keep hearing about is Valdez Scantling.
By the way, he said that the Titans knocked off the Pats, not the Ravens. Am I remembering that right?
The Titans beat the Pats. Yeah, the Titans. Well, the Titans also knocked off the Ravens, though.
That's okay. That's right. Then they had to go to Kansas City. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah, that was a weird one. That was like that should have been Ravens and
Chiefs.
KC. That would have been a much more interesting game.
So
thanks for the clarification, by the way, Nathaniel. Appreciate it.
So we have a few other things to discuss, but Kevin, this was Jennifer did the research on this. You wanted to do this. I don't know quite why you wanted to do this. Are you trying to torture yourself?
No. Okay, so Jennifer asked if she could help in any way, and she's great with putting stats together. She's our queen, a stat expert here. And I said, I'm working on something for Endzone. Can you do me a favor? Can you please give me, and I know for Raiders this is going to be kind of painful, but I have a point here because I heard something really interesting today, and I did a little bit of my own research. And I want to run this by you for the fans out there, and I want to see what you have to say, Kyle. So don't try to laugh too hard. Let me finish my point here. But I'm gonna kind of work with you here. So I asked
Kevin, hold on.
Say your joke. Go ahead.
No joke here. I just want to clarify something for those who are new to the End Zone or watching for the first time. Obviously, you can see it on the screen. This almost never, because I'm a Chiefs fan and Kevin is a Raiders fan. The running jokes have been going since we started this. However, but because of our fandoms in football, it almost prevented the foundation of the formation of the fandom podcast.
This is true. Yeah. I think you held the fact that you like the Chiefs a secret until I decided to come on board. Okay, so I asked Jennifer, and you and I were in that chat. I said, Jennifer, can you do me a favor, please? And she was wonderful. She did it. Thank you, Jennifer. She gave us, I want the year-by-year records for the last 10 years of both the Raiders and the Chiefs. Okay. And so 2009 through 2019. And Kyle, the reason why I brought that up is because I wanted to ask you, which team has had the best 10 years?
The Chiefs.
Okay, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Let's throw some stuff out here, and you added to these notes here. Of course, the Raiders' best season, of course, was in 2016. They went 12-4, where Carr got injured. Gruden returned in 2018, but we're looking at from 2009, it was 5-11. Then we went 8-8, 8-8, 4-12, 4-12, 3-13, 7-9, 12-4. 6-10, 4-12, and last year we went 7-9. Where you only really had a couple of few bad years. 2009 you were 4-12, then you went up to 10-6, 7-9. Then 2012 you're 2-14. Andy Reid comes on.
Yeah, I want to just hit on the 2012 season real quick. That was a horrible season for Chiefs fans. That was the Romeo Cornell coached year. That was also the year that Javon Belcher committed suicide in the parking lot of Arrowhead Stadium, right in front of Romeo Cornell.
That's right.
General manager at the time.
Yeah.
So that was a very tough year for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Andy Reid comes on 2013 and they go 11-5.
And they drop. Also, Alex Smith arrives as quarterback at the same time. So
yes. Then 2014, you're 9-7. Then you had a great run here that led up to the Super Bowl. You went 11-5 and 15, 12-4, 10-6. Then Patrick Mahomes comes in 2018, as you call the savior.
Yes, this was his first year as starter. He was technically drafted in 17, but this was his first year as a starter.
So then your Chiefs went 12-4, and then last year you guys also went 12-4. He also got injured, was out a few games, came back and won the Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to call this Kevin's Conspiracy Corner. Okay.
In other words, Kevin's Raiders Excuses Corner.
No, I'm going to say conspiracy because we have proven that there's been lots of, let's just say, bias towards the Raiders in many, many different ways.
He tries this every season, ladies and gentlemen.
So hold on. Kyle, what is one of the things that is almost a consistent every year, and it makes news all the time about the Chiefs season?
Consistent every year and makes news about the Chiefs season.
And it's regarding your coach.
Oh, Andy Reid not winning the Super Bowl. Hasn't won the big one.
No. It's during regular season.
Oh, the bye week.
Okay, exactly. What happens during
Andy Reid is unbeatable after a bye week.
Okay, good. Thank you. So the reason why I bring this up, Kyle, is that some interesting just kind of like, this is kind of interesting. Now, the Raiders have a lot of, we have a long list, but I'm just going to throw a couple of conspiracy stuff out there. You know, first of all, we got the immaculate deception game, you know, whether it was a catch or not, you know, and obviously, you know, Villapiano got clipped right there in front of a ref. It wasn't called. They took 15 minutes on that game and they were getting afraid for their lives because they were waiting to find out, you know, what was going to happen with the crowd. And of course that got ruled against the Raiders. Of course, we had the famous tuck rule game, obviously, right? And the guy that made that decision, that umpire, and all the other stuff that he was involved in. Then we have recently that index card game on national television. So there's always this, yeah, I know, right, yeah, I see what you're going on here. But you know, and there's also proven fact numbers. I mentioned this last year that there was also Raider bias when it came to the refs. Okay, made big news earlier this year, right? Well, I want to say there's another weird conspiracy going on here, Kyle. Do you know what that is? That's called schedule conspiracy. All right. I'm going to read something, by the way, from the Chiefs Wire. This came out in May 2020 by your Chiefs, by one of the writers, Charles Goldman. The Kansas City Chiefs are getting a familiar opponent after they go on a bye week in 2020. The Chiefs will play the AFC West foe, the Raiders, after the bye week for the third consecutive season. After the bye week for the third consecutive season. In 2018, okay? So in 2018, they played the Raiders in Oakland after the Week 12 bye, coming off a 40-33 win. Then they had the Raiders at Arrowhead Stadium after the Week 12 bye, defeating them 40-9. In the last 10 seasons, Kansas City has played 8 AFC West opponents following the bye week. That's good. The most division opponents after a bye week for any team during that span. The most common opponent during that Chiefs bye week has been the Raiders, with 6 games played in the last 10 seasons. Okay. So, and this is done by, one of your Chiefs writers here. Columnist Josh Dubois tweeted in May of 2020, came out. So Kyle, in the last 10 years, the Raiders have been scheduled to play your Chiefs after their bye. The reason why I brought up that schedule of the last 10 years and the records is that the Chiefs have been playing very bad Raider teams, right? Yet the Raiders seem to still get scheduled by the NFL schedulers to play your Chiefs on a bye. So over the last 10 years, 6 times.
So Kevin, here's what I'm going to say to that. That 6 times after the bye still does not equal the amount of pass interference calls from a certain Thursday night football game about 2 years ago that continued the game.
I'm going to come back to that in a moment. Okay. So 10 years, the last 10 years, the Raiders had to play the Chiefs after the Chiefs bye for 6 of those years. And there was only one of those that the Raiders actually won. Okay.
Yeah. But okay. Now the question is how many were before Andy Reid?
Hold on. That doesn't matter. This is my beef here is with the NFL schedulers. Okay. Because Dallas has been complaining for years. Why are we playing the Giants every year on the first game? This year, they changed that, okay? But they always play in the Giants. Throw some other people in there. Throw some different flavors. I am saying there is a bias when it comes to the schedulers in the NFL and the Raiders. Let me ask you this, Kyle. How many times, let's say 27 years, have the Raiders had a bye, then they played the Chiefs after their bye week? After 27 years.
I would say a couple times it's probably happened.
One time. So I'm just going to throw that out there. There's another, it's out there. It's just a thing. It's a stat.
Keep
in mind that the Raiders have not had a good 10 years. And so the stats that go towards, oh my God, Andy Reid and the Chiefs are so good after their bye. Well, they're playing the Raiders.
So what we're hearing is yet another Raider reach for an excuse of why your team has just been so pathetic since they basically went to the Super Bowl. And
we're always fighting against the system here, Kyle. We're always doing that. And by the way,
you're always fishing for excuses is what
it's not. No, it's not an excuse. I am calling out the Raider bias. That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it has nothing to do with the win or loss. I'm just saying it's very convenient. But now I want to go back to what you said about this Thursday night game with how many penalties against the Chiefs?
I believe in that last drive that kept it alive, there was like 5 straight pass interference calls.
Okay. How many would you say were legal in your mind as a fan, Chiefs fan?
I would say at least 2 of them were legal.
So you're calling out a bias against the Chiefs because this was at the Raiders' home stadium.
I'm just calling out bad officiating, period.
Okay.
I'm not saying there was any bad. Yeah, I'm just calling out bad officiating.
You had said to me in the past that I don't want to hear any more Raiders complaining about bias after that game. My response to you is, Kyle, I want you to go through continuous bias through the Raiders against the Raiders for at least 30 years to your team before you say something like that. I'm done.
Here's the thing, though. It all becomes a moot point because the Raiders used the stupidest head coach of all time who didn't even bother to change the playbook before the Super Bowl.
That's another conspiracy. I'm not going to go down that right now.
You know, it's all
like I said,
conspiracies.
I'm not using the conspiracies as an excuse of why we've been bad. I'm just saying that the conspiracies that started when Al Davis started pissing people off a long time ago, when a lot of those guys are still alive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's focus on the 2020 season, Kevin.
Okay.
Let's talk a little predictions for the 2020 NFL season. And Kevin, this year we do have expanded playoffs. We will have 3 wild cards this year. So
I can't get my head around that yet. It's weird. I really can't. Can you?
So I haven't even thought about, because I've been more concerned if we actually even get to that point in the season. But we will have only the number 1 seed getting a bye week in the NFL playoffs.
Okay, so let's say this here. So we've got instead of what was it, 8 teams, right?
Instead of 6 teams.
6 teams. We've got 8. We've got 8 teams now.
7 teams per conference.
Oh, that's right, 7 teams. Okay, so how's that going to work out now?
The number 1 seed gets the bye.
Right.
Everybody else has to play 3 games.
So only 1 team gets the bye.
Yes, the number 1 seed gets the bye.
Okay. And obviously a home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I assume that's awarded, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
So let's take a look. Let's start with, we're not going to sit here and just analyze every division, but we are going to pick our AFC division champions, conference champions, and the Super Bowl winner. So, and we'll do the same for the NFC. So let's start, Kevin. Actually, let's start with the NFC, because we tend to put a little more focus on the AFC around here. I wonder why, but
yeah. AFC West biased.
Yeah, just a little bit there. But let's start with the NFC, and I want to start with who I think will be the number 1 seed and the winners of the Southern Division of the NFC, and that is the New Orleans Saints. And if any of my players from my CBS Sports Fantasy Football League that I've been in for many years, they should be celebrating right now, because a lot of them are in that Louisiana area, are huge Saints fans. So I am having them winning the NFC South and getting that number 1 seed.
I agree with you there. I think that's a no-brainer. I think the Falcons are going to be more competitive. I don't see Tampa Bay could push there though, but until they knock off Breeze with Tom Brady and everyone, I need to see that first. And then of course Carolina, I think they're probably they're going to do better, but I don't think they're going to challenge for the number 1.
Yeah, Carolina is going to be competitive, but I don't think they're going to win a lot of games. Coming in as the 2 seed is the NFC East champions for me, the Dallas Cowboys. I think they are just loaded on both sides of the football. A healthy Zeke Elliott, a healthy Dak Prescott. You've got Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, and first-round pick CeeDee Lamb there at wide receiver. They are loaded offensively, and they have a very stout defense and a really good offensive line. I think they're going to win the NFC East and be the number 2 seed. They seem like the easy pick, but I'm going to throw a wild card out there. Not official wild card, but I think the Giants can challenge that. See, the Giants are a couple years away, and the Eagles have had a lot of injuries already in training camp. So,
Giants, don't sleep on them. I'm not ready to sleep on them yet.
Just because you have your new man crush is not Jimmy G.
Don't you save that for fantasy? Save that for fantasy.
You realize how that sounded right now, but
save the man crush for fantasy. What's wrong with that, Kyle? I don't
know. Coming in as the number 3 seed in the NFC, the Central champs in my book, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah. I think they're the team to beat. I would agree. I'm not sold on Green Bay yet.
I'm not sold on Green Bay. I'm not sold on Chicago or Detroit. I think it's the Vikings division to win. So the number 4 seed, and a lot of people are going to go, number 4, Kyle? And I'm going to explain this. The San Francisco 49ers as the NFC West champs. That is the toughest division in the NFL. Maybe the AFC North is a little tougher, but you have the Seahawks, you have the Rams, you have the Niners, and you will have at least a competitive Arizona Cardinal football team in that division. Plus, the 49ers have been devastated at wide receiver in the offseason with season-ending injuries or guys who are going to be out for at least half the year. I think they're going to struggle offensively. They're going to have a great defense, but I think that division is just going to beat the living hell out of each other too. But I do think the 49ers, with that defense they have, and they still have George Kittle, and they still have Raheem Mostert to run the football.
I see them squeaking out a playoff bid somewhere. But Nathaniel's, the NFC East could disappear off the face of the earth, and I wouldn't mind. Well, who would you play? Who would you complain against then, Nathaniel?
Yeah, exactly.
Who would you play?
Yep.
But that's funny though.
As far as the 3 wild cards for the NFC, coming in with the first wild card, I do have Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think at the number 2 wild card, it's Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks, and the number 3 wild card is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. I think the Giants are going to squeak in there. I'm going to disagree with you on that.
I think the Giants defense is nowhere near ready for that. And as far as who's going to win the NFC and represent the NFC,
the defense has to be just good enough, because I think that offense is going to score a lot of points. I'm convinced of that. And I think that if they can stay healthy, their defense just needs to keep the opponents to maybe 20 points or less if they can. It's not asking a lot. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I think they're going to be more competitive.
I think Daniel Jones is a year away from making that step. That's just me personally. But I have actually the Dallas Cowboys winning the NFC. And the reason for this is the Saints need to prove something in the playoffs that they don't get either robbed because of bad ref calls. Or
can I rebuttal that? I just want to say the Cowboys need to prove to us that they can make it to the playoffs and win more than one game. So I'm sorry. I understand your point, and you've made a great thing for it, but then you just got to go with they are who they are, until they prove otherwise. Trust me, I'm being told that all the time. The Raiders are who they are until they prove otherwise.
They are who we thought they were.
The Cowboys are the same thing. I don't care what they do during the regular season. If they're going to make it to the playoffs, they got to win a game, maybe 2. And I don't see that happening. I would pick the Saints. I would pick the Vikings and the Niners over the Cowboys.
Okay, so who do you have then, Kevin, as your NFC pick?
I'm going to go with the Saints right now. I'm going to stick with the Saints. The Saints have proved themselves.
I would like to just nominate that somebody said, "Wow, can we just remove the left side of the screen?"
Wait a minute, is that me?
No, that would be me if you look at it on YouTube. So, Raider fans, champs, right here, champs.
Hold on,
okay,
let me get him for you guys.
Doesn't reach. Mahomes power.
Hold on, I got a ranged weapon here. Here we go.
All right. Try to do a professional football podcast, but what?
Hey, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Ron, the Materator. Ron, what's going on, man? He says Cowboys are like Amari Cooper. They look the part and then they drop the ball when it counts. Well said.
It's painful for me to talk anything positive about the Cowboys, but I just see the talent there, and Dak's going to be playing for a paycheck.
Yeah, I think so too. Anyway, good to see you, Ron. I'll see you in the RFR chat, bro.
Yep. Let's look over to the AFC now, Kevin.
Oh, yeah, that.
Yeah. The number 1 seed I have listed, of course, the defending, undisputed Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, winning the AFC West.
I will not disagree with that. I think that they're going to win that again.
However, coming in at the 2 seed,
it hurts me to say that, but
coming in with the 2 seed, the team I'm more worried about than any other team in the NFL when it comes to the Chiefs and their Super Bowl repeat quest, the Baltimore Ravens.
I would agree with that.
The AFC North.
I want to see a Chiefs. Of course, if my Raiders don't get lucky, I want to see the Raiders or the Chiefs and the Ravens. We should have gotten that last year.
Well, we're going to get that. We're going to get that week 3 of Monday Night Football.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see what happens, but no matter what happens with that game, I think it is important because that will definitely decide who gets some home field advantage during the playoffs. But I want to see that. I want to see what we should have gotten last year.
Yeah. Coming in at number 3, I have the AFC East having a new champ finally after all of these years, the Buffalo Bills. I like what they've done in the offseason. I like bringing in Stephon Diggs to help Josh Allen. Their defense is maybe the best defense in football. They've got a good young running back. I think Josh Allen is just good enough to not have them lose games and can probably win a couple games on his legs. So I have them as the number 3 seed and the AFC East champions.
I like that pick. I would like that to happen for them. But then there's Belichick just going, prove it first.
Well, there's some stuff with the Patriots, and we'll talk about that shortly. Coming in as the 4 seed, I have the AFC Central champs, the Tennessee Titans. I don't see them dropping off any from last year. They're going to play their tough physical brand of football. They just added Javion Clowney to their defense. Derrick Henry's, unless he just breaks down completely in the season, I don't see any reason why they're not.
I'm with you there. I think that's a good pick.
The first wild card I have is the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do think they rebound and play much better. Really, they were a pretty competitive football team, considering they probably had the worst quarterback play in the league last year before. But Ben is back. If Ben is healthy, I think they win that first wild card. Number 2, Deshaun Watson and the Texans. This is more betting on Deshaun Watson than anything. That guy just seems to find a way to get his team to win games.
Agreed. Ron the Materator said Von Miller is potentially out for the season.
That's what I'm hearing too. That is big.
By the way, let me ask you. Nathaniel says that the AFC East is a game of roulette this year. So you're picking Bills to win, but do you think it's going to be a close fight? Because I think that's what he means. It's going to be like whoever's hot, whoever's healthy, or do you mean, obviously it's always been, it's always been New England. But right now, I don't see, I don't see.
Okay,
Miami.
So I see Miami being. I could see Miami pulling off a couple extra wins, maybe going 7-9, 8-8, and keeping themselves competitive and being in there and just being a pain. The Jets are a mess. The Jets are a couple years away, though. I still am high on Sam Darnold, but they got to get him some weapons. But the final wild card is the New England Patriots. I think adding Cam Newton is a huge deal for them because he's healthy, and I think Bill Belichick will get the best of Cam Newton since his MVP season with Carolina. But my problem with the Patriots is twofold. They have no weapons on offense. Tell me one wide receiver he's throwing to, and they lost 6 players on defense to COVID opt-outs.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's going to be tough.
But it is Belichick, and I do think he will find a way to get the Patriots into the playoffs.
If he can do that and get them to go far in the playoffs, it just proves the type of coach that he is.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's one of the big subplots of the season is what do Belichick and Brady do without each other?
Yeah.
And lastly, I have the AFC champs will be the Kansas City Chiefs. And I do have the Chiefs beating the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. Let the dynasty begin.
I think we're going to have an NFC champion this year. I don't think the Chiefs are going to do it. They have everything in place, but I think there's going to be a little bit of a hangover somewhere.
So you think
until they can prove me otherwise, because it's so tough to win.
Yeah. Oh, no, don't get me wrong.
So tough,
I know this
man.
is. I think I would be less inclined to pick them to repeat if we didn't have the situation we had with COVID this year, and the fact that they're returning 20 of 22 starters on their team, and also the addition of Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back, I think is an improvement over anying they had at running back.
You never know what's going to happen. You could have an injury breakout. It's one of those things. But I'm going to actually pick the Saints to. Who do
you have being the AFC champion?
I'm going to go Ravens and Saints, but you know what though? I would love to see, I wish we could have gotten Saints Chiefs last year, but I'm going to go Ravens Saints. That's what I'm going to go.
Yeah. Cause it's just, you can't allow yourself to say Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Can you? It goes against the very fiber of your being.
Can't do it.
Okay, well, we're going to take a quick break here, let you know what else is going on around the Fandom Podcast Network, and then it's time, Kevin, for the signature part of the End Zone, the greatest mediocre fantasy football advice on the internet.
This is for you guys that play fantasy. We got the mediocre coming.
We'll be right back after we tell you what's going on around the Fandom Podcast Network.
Thank you for listening. We hope you're enjoying this podcast. We like to continue to feed your ears by inviting you to listen to the Fandom Podcast Network and all of the other awesome shows we have to offer. It starts with our flagship show, Culture Clash, our weekly pop culture news podcast. Bloody Kings, our Highlander podcast. Couch Potato Theater, our podcast celebrating our favorite movies. Time Warp, the Fandom Flashback podcast discussing a year in movies and our favorite pop culture topics. Endzone, the NFL podcast. Good Evening, an Alfred Hitchcock podcast. Union Federation, our Star Trek and Orville podcast. Hair Metal, the 80s and early 90s rock metal podcast. Type 40, our Doctor Who podcast. Lethal Mullet, a 1980s and 90s action film podcast. What a Piece of Junk, a Star Wars podcast. And our newest show, Making Treks, a new Star Trek podcast with a deep dive into the final frontier with host Mark Newbold and Adam P. O'Brien. You can enjoy all of these great Fandom Podcast Network shows on our master feed at fpnet.podbean.com. Fandom Podcast Network is also on Apple Podcast, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. You can also find us on Facebook under Fandom Podcast Network. You can also email us at fandompodcastnetwork@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram and Twitter under Fandom Podcast Network. Thank you for listening, and remember, respect others and enjoy your fandom.
So, welcome back to the End Zone. Before we start dishing out our top-notch mediocre fantasy football advice, I got to give a shout out to the chat because our good friend, the one semi-Raiders fan I can stand, I can actually stand him more than I can stand this guy over here. Our good friend Murph Murphy, who gave us some great shout outs for the live podcast tonight as our first one for the End Zone from Raider Fan Radio. Check it out. They have a ton of fun over there.
Plus, he was a great guest on our wonderful Couch Potato Theater talking about the first two Bill and Ted films.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was most excellent on that podcast for a Raider. Not bad for a Raider fan. That's about all the best that you're going to get out of this. But Kevin, it's time. Fantasy football is here. A lot of people were holding off, and they're doing their drafts these next 3 days before the season starts.
Yeah, I got one more tomorrow.
Yeah, I've got one. My big one tomorrow. My CBS Sports League. Shout out if any of you guys out there are listening. I've been in that league for a very long time. It's a great bunch of guys. But yeah, a lot of people held off on their drafts because we weren't even sure if we were going to have a season, Kevin.
I know, but as we started getting closer, we're like, okay, this is going to happen. This is a real thing. And people started doing it. But the big question was there was no preseason, nothing going on that we could see except for whatever the controlled environment with all of the, the select group of sports writers that could report on anything. And they're not supposed to report on plays and stuff like that. And then you get all these Zoom interviews that are controlled, so it's tough, man. I heard a number today that normally there's around 40 or 45 waiver things that are going on, but there was only I think
12.
12. I mean,
well, part of that is
the teams are deciding to stick with what they've got and seeing what they can work with.
And also, too, they did expand the practice squad and change some of the rules on practice squad for this season as well. Practice squad, I believe, is now up to 12 players or 14 players, and they can have veterans for the first time on the practice squad, guys who've been in the league for multiple years.
Question about that. I learned something about the practice squad. It's always been kind of like this mythical world, some hidden land in, let's say, I don't know. What do you want to say? Star Wars land, some hidden land, or some far off
the land
planet.
of Kroll.
Yeah, or something like that, or somewhere that's beyond Mordor of the practice squad. Okay, so check this out. The practice squad right now there is 15. It got expanded because of COVID.
Yes.
And then there's you get to keep obviously what was it 4? How many veterans you said?
Well, you can keep up to 4 or 5 veterans on the practice squad. Everybody else, I think, has to be 3 years or
this I didn't know, and call me a noob on this, but I didn't know that you can activate someone from the practice squad up to an hour and a half before game time.
Correct.
So this means the practice squad always travels with the team.
Yeah, and here's the other thing: the practice squad can always be rated by another team. but they have to sign them to the main roster. They cannot be signed from one practice squad to another practice squad.
Right.
Now,
Right.
this actually plays in a couple interesting factors with roster moves that happen. The most notable is the Miami Dolphins released former number 1 pick Josh Rosen, who was with Arizona, got traded when the Cardinals selected Kyler Murray, goes to Miami. Miami tries to trade him because they took Tua Tagovailoa with their number 1 pick this year. Couldn't find a suitor. They released him. He chose, instead of going to a team where he would be on the roster, to sign with Tampa Bay and their practice squad so he could learn from Bruce Arians and Tom Brady, as well as Byron Leftwich was his offensive coordinator when he was in Arizona. So he chose to go someplace where he had some familiarity.
Raiders made some news, and it wasn't good news, was that they traded Lynn Bowden Jr., the 4th-round pick, that they were expecting to kind of do a little bit of everything. You know, he came from Kentucky, and he was, the quarterback, but they wanted him to be a running back, but he'd done wide receiver, and they traded him to Miami for a 3rd-round pick. So, I mean, and there's many reasons and questions of how that happened. I actually drafted him in a league. And then I think I dropped him before all that happened because I wanted to pick up this running back that I missed in the draft. But it's amazing how you're looking at all these players for your fantasy league as we bring this back around to fantasy, and how it's tough to say. And when we were drafting Kyle, we were kind of like, okay, we're going to go with the obvious stuff, but then we're kind of shooting darts big time. And it was weird, wasn't it?
It was very strange. I mean, to give you an example, Theo Riddick, who's actually tends to end up on a fantasy team because he's a great 3rd down running back receiver type. He's on the Raiders, but he's on their practice squad this year.
Yeah, he's on the practice squad.
Or even with Kansas City, Matt Moore, who actually filled in for when Patrick Mahomes was hurt last year, he's on their practice squad this year because Chad Henne is back healthy to be the backup. But the guy who's sitting pretty is Josh McCown. A McCown brother is still in the NFL at age 41. The Eagles signed him to their practice squad. They're paying him $12,000 a week to be their emergency quarterback and stay home and be ready. That's basically his job.
There you go. So Kyle, I want to go over what we have going on in fantasy right now. We always have a couple of leagues that you and I share.
Mm-hmm.
But what I decided to do this year was just keep one ESPN league, and that's the trophy league that we normally have. We put in like $10 and we do trophy. But as we were coming closer to the season, we're like, you know what? With all this unsure whatever it's going to happen, we decided not to do a trophy, so we're calling it the No Trophy League. So we did that draft. Was it last week from last Monday?
Sunday.
Yeah, it was a Sunday. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
And then we also did this. We also decided to do a CBS league.
I'm sorry. It was Thursday night we did the ESPN draft. Sunday night we did the ESPN or the CBS. Your first ever commissioning of a CBS sports league.
Yes, that was interesting. Trying to learn the CBS commission stuff. So you and I are in that league. Also, we have Jennifer Walk. She is also in that league. And then I have I still have 3 Yahoo leagues that I'm in. Of course, I'm in the RFR League of Record, the Raider Fans Radio League as well, and that's going to be fun. I'm also hosting the Atlanta Raider Booster Club yearly Yahoo League. I'm the commish for that. And I just got my normal Yahoo League as well, which eventually I'm probably going to retire and get rid of, but it's fun to have because several of those guys, including Jen, are in that CBS League now. So we'll see.
Of course, let's just first say it. Yahoo scoring sucks.
Oh God, I hate Yahoo. Yeah, not a fan of Yahoo. What does the chat think? Who's your favorite host for fantasy football? What do you like? Mine is still favorite is ESPN. I can't stand NFL. We got rid of that one, but I'm going to give CBS a try this year because you spoke highly of it.
I'm very big on CBS. I think ESPN is probably number 2 for me, though. I think those are the 2. If you're going to do a league, you use one of those 2. So, Kevin, let's talk a little fantasy football because, again, it's such a weird year. It's kind of like, okay, you need to go with the standby, but we have some players who kind of have moved up in status because of team situations or things like that. I'm looking at the Roto Street Journal rankings right now, and I find it interesting because their top 3 tiers, tier 1 only has 1 player in it.
What's that?
And he is the consensus number 1 pick in fantasy football this year, and that is Christian McCaffrey.
Yep, Christian McCaffrey. Yep.
In tier 2, you only have 2 players, Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott. Then you drop to tier 3, and this is where things start getting a little interesting. In their rankings, they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the Chiefs rookie running back, Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, and Joe Mixon. who's climbed up the boards in the last week because he's a happy man with the new contract.
Yes, he is. Yep.
Now, tier 4, this is where things start getting really interesting because it's mostly running backs. Austin Eckler, who is the official starter now for the LA Chargers,
And
no
also
more
got
Melvin
paid,
Gordon.
right?
Yeah, got paid.
Yep.
Alvin Kamara, which the rumors are he's about to get a huge contract from the Saints, followed by the first non-running back on the board at number 10, Michael Thomas from the Saints. Then Devontae Adams of Green Bay. And then here's one of the guys, the next few are a couple of guys are guys who I don't understand why they're ranked so high. And that is Kenyon Drake of the Arizona Cardinals. He had that kind of burst when he got traded from Miami to Arizona. And everybody's just gone bonkers over him. And the other one is Miles Sanders of the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's the one I don't get. I get Kenyon Drake, but I don't get Miles Sanders. I'm not sold on him.
Well, part of it is because it's really his job. Jordan Howard's in Miami now.
Yeah.
There's really nobody else there to compete with him. And he had a nice rookie season for them. A lot of people see him as a dual threat. They think he's going to catch a lot of balls. Then you go to a guy who I continue to say is the most underrated fantasy football running back this season. That is Nick Chubb of the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Definitely. Yep.
Then you go with Aaron Jacobs. Then your boy from the Raiders, who I think this is way undervalued on him too, is Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, he's a Raider. They're always going to lowball him. So yeah.
Okay, man. and then finally, Julio Jones. Rounding out, then I'm just going to go through their top
funny.
four
I think he's ranked too low. A lot of people have been stealing him down there, but was it the 4th or 5th round? It's been crazy. Yeah. I think his stock is going up though. He's definitely someone to pick.
I think what the deal with Julio Jones is it just he's been there for so long. It's like it's Julio Jones. You just take him for granted. He just puts up numbers, but Atlanta doesn't do anything. But Kevin, I know we both have drafts still, so we don't want to give away too much right now. But who are some people that have grabbed your attention?
Okay,
in fantasy that maybe somebody who we know the name, but maybe you think a little higher or a little lower than what
and as you teased to earlier, I'm all in on Daniel Jones, the New York Giants quarterback. I think that he is going to take the next step. I have drafted him in 2 leagues as my backup quarterback, and I'm high on him. But there's another player that's also on that team that a lot of people are overlooking. He's the number 1 receiver, and that's Darius Slayton.
See, I don't necessarily know that he's the number 1 receiver guy. Golden Tate is still there.
He's young though. Slayton there. I think Slayton's going to be that sneaky guy, and I think he's worth starting because I've been looking at a lot of depth, New York Giants depth, and they're always putting him at number 1. And I like the kid. I think he's going to do well.
Yeah. Anybody else you want to throw out there? Another couple of names just that spark interest.
Cam Akers. I think his stock is going a lot higher for obvious reasons, and I think that he should be. I think he should be a maybe between pick 8 and 12, and I see him dropping, not dropping, but I see him usually closer to like around maybe 20 or 25. Cam Akers, I think, is a guy.
Rams running back,
what's
right?
that? Yeah, the Rams running back. I think that next year he's going to be in the top 6.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay.
Also too, J.K. Dobbins from Baltimore running back, picking him up. I like that guy.
Yeah. That's an interesting pick. I think he could steal that job from Mark Ingram before the season is over. He is a good Ohio State running back. But I think rookies are a bigger risk this year in fantasy football than they ever have been because they've had no preseason games.
True.
They've not had a lot of contact.
That's why I think week 2 in fantasy is going to be very interesting.
Bring on the
Nathaniel says David Montgomery could be a good late run running back. If the Bears actually start to run the ball. Why aren't they doing this with him?
Because David Montgomery already has an injury. He has a severe groin pull.
Yeah.
And this has been the knock on him.
I just want to also mention too, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. Okay.
That's for Murph. I agree with you, Murph.
Yeah, no, I think I had Jacobs last year, and so I even offered him in a trade, and somebody didn't take me up on that.
Yeah, that was week 1. We knew nothing.
I knew. I drafted him.
But I just want to say too, Carr's got to throw to someone. So I like Brian Edwards too. Henry Ruggs, yes, everyone's picking Ruggs over Brian Edwards, but I've been sneaking Brian Edwards later on there in the later rounds. I have him in like 3 leagues, and I'm fine with that. So we'll see.
A couple of names I like. I really like Terry McLaurin out of Washington.
Scorn McLaurin.
Yeah. He had a great rookie season considering the quarterback messes there. And I gotta give a quick shout out to congratulations to Alex Smith for coming all the way back and making the Washington football team.
I want to mention, I'll talk on that a little bit, but yeah, you even though he played for the Chiefs, that injury was just horrible. And
yeah, if you watch the ESPN special about him, that's rough to watch. But Alex Smith has always been a class guy, whether it was San Francisco, Kansas City, or Washington.
So I'm looking forward to next week, not just because we get to actually talk about a game, Kyle, but I'm kind of curious to see who your Jimmy GQ Man Crush Award's going to go to.
Well, is it gonna? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But let me throw out a couple names here for me. I gotta be fair. I am very high, and I'm gonna say it right now. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think a lot of places have him as possibly even the number 3 running back on the board.
Well, he's in the top 5. He's not a secret,
Well, I know, but still,
he's on the Chiefs. Andy Reid likes to run the ball. Yeah. That's not a secret. Come on, it's just being able to say his name is the hard thing. But I want to go with, I don't know what's happening in Jacksonville, but depending on your scoring. Divine Ozigbo, Jacksonville running back. I'm going to throw that out there.
A name I want to throw out, as much as it pains me to say it, but I think Cortland Sutton, the wide receiver of the Broncos, he's going to
that Jerry Jeudy, a nice little compliment there. So yeah.
Yeah. Also very high on. I'm high on Jonathan Taylor, but I think he's a later season pickup because I think it's going to take him a few weeks before he gets named the starter in Indianapolis.
Definitely. I'm curious. Okay, so after this first season here. Okay, so one thing that I did with the leagues here, and most people were cool with it, was because of this COVID stuff. Some people were adding extra IR spots. I did that. What's that?
With a strict rule attached to it.
Which was what? Go ahead.
IR spots for COVID only.
Yes, IR for COVID only. I did add an extra roster spot to kind of help with that as well, but the IR spots are for COVID only. Otherwise, if you've got an injured player that is not COVID, you got to put them on your bench there. So, I mean, it's weird, but I kind of like drafting that extra round because it was very interesting to see what other stuff you were getting that second to last round instead of the kicker and the defense if you did wait to do that. So yeah.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about the Man Crush, because we started this when we started the End Zone. We were all dreamweavered over.
Yeah, you were on Mahomes' butt like 5 or 6 weeks there, man.
Come on, yeah. I'm just hoping to get some spare change to fall out of his pants pocket. There's plenty there, but no. Jimmy GQ, the Jimmy GQ Man Crush Award, the Fantasy Player of the Week. But Kevin, the thing is that I think your Man Crush allegiance has changed a little bit.
Yeah, I'm high on Daniel Jones this year. I don't know, he's a good looking guy, but he's not Jimmy GQ. But we'll still call the Jimmy GQ Man Crush Award, to award to our favorite fantasy players that do well week per week. That's always a fun thing to talk about. But I'm just gonna throw Daniel Jones in there. We'll see. So
yeah, I'm scared for your.
By the way, let's go back to
Baker Mayfield.
Let's go back to the Washington football team real quick. I think they're gonna wait till next season, is what I'm hearing. But there's been some fan favorites that have been thrown out there. What have you heard?
I've heard the Red Tails, the Red Warriors,
the Red Wolves. I've heard too as well.
I'm partial to the Red. I like the Red Tails, but I don't know if they'll go there.
Yeah, I'm with Murph on this too. A lot of people do to celebrate the African American World War II fighter squadron that was crucial to
Yeah.
the war effort. And that would be, with aviation being a huge thing in Washington, D.C. and a huge history there, that would be awesome. And by the way, there was a George Lucas produced movie called Red Tails that talks about that. So make sure you check that out. It was really good. So
Kevin, I'm just going to add in before anything else needs to happen in Washington, D.C. They need to give their owner the Donald Sterling treatment and get him out of there.
I would agree with that.
After the whole incident with the Redskins name, it's come out that Daniel Snyder might have some problems with how he's treated some Redskins cheerleaders and some things he requested. And we'll leave it at that. But Daniel Snyder has been a plague on the NFL. As much as I can say, as a Chiefs fan, Al Davis drove me crazy. Al Davis was still part of that soul of the NFL. Dan Snyder has no business. Sell the team to Mark Cuban. I'm good with that.
All right, Kyle, one last topic before we end this end zone. First of all, I want to thank everyone there in the chat. Murph, thank you. Nathaniel, Jen, everyone else in there. Ron, I want to ask you. So I plan on going to Las Vegas next weekend to be there when the Raiders play their first home game at Allegiant Stadium, Monday Night Football against the Saints.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, Kevin, I just want to say thank you, Raiders management, for sparing your fans the pain of watching your team.
Shut up. Nice try. Okay. Raider Nation is going to be there in full force. I'm actually going to be seeing Murph there, as well as a lot of people from the Raiders Fan Radio family, as well as many other great fans there. I'm going to be hanging out with my friend Dan Lee, Buddy Joseph. A lot of people I know are going to be there. Obviously, we won't be able to be in that stadium, and I think that our owner, Mark Davis, did a good job to be one of the first owners to say something about this and take a stand against COVID and not contribute to anything like that. We've got a brand new home that at least we get to walk around to a certain degree and see from a distance. I'm looking forward to it. I was thinking about maybe getting to Atlanta because I got, obviously, my stepdaughter's in Atlanta and a lot of wonderful people going there. I know Murph's going there. Atlanta Raider Booster Club is going to have a wonderful time there when the Raiders come to Atlanta. That's still kind of on the fence for me with everything going on. But Kyle, you're near Tampa Bay. Do you think you might try to sneak to a game this year anywhere?
I've thought about it, to be honest with you. And as much as it pains me to say, because I know the Chiefs are coming to Tampa this year, and I would love to go to that game. But right now, they're not expecting fans for at least the first 2 to 3 games for the Buccaneers.
Are you going to at least try to tailgate? Dude, you got to do that, man. I understand. You're a Chiefs fan. You got to at least try to get there.
I understand that. But however, how my area has handled the COVID situation has not been good.
This is a good point. Florida sucks when it comes to COVID.
So
you can do what you can to take care of yourself, man.
Right. But I'm just saying, there's still too much up in the air, and that game is not, I think, until the end of October or November.
Is there a Chiefs organized fan club in your area?
Not in my area per se. I believe there is one up in Tampa that I have been investigating. But again, all these kind of groups and stuff, just because of how Florida has been, they've really put the lockdown on social gatherings in my area. So
do we know, by the way, Nathaniel asked a question. Do you know if they're going to be suspending the blackout rules this year? I would assume they are, right?
The blackout rules are suspended this year. I don't see any. And, Kevin, I want to ask you this real quick, because I talked about it a little earlier with the YouTube thing. I know the NFL TV contracts are coming up, not after this season, but after the next season. I want to ask you, and I want to put it out to the people in the chat too. Would you be willing to pay $60 to get every Raider game on streaming?
That would be nice, because I work Sunday mornings and I miss part of the away games that are like the early games when they go to East Coast. That would be nice to be able to stream it during my lunch. I do get back in time for usually right after halftime or the last half. But yes, that would be nice. But the good thing, where I live, the Raiders are always televised, and I know they will be this year. So I do have a chance to see them. But to spend an extra $60 to stream them anywhere I wanted, yes. Especially, I might need to do that when I go to Vegas, because we don't know what's happening yet.
Yeah. And by the way, are there teams in LA? Supposedly Hard Knocks was there this year, but are there teams in LA?
Yeah, well, there's another Raider home game there every year, but yeah. the LA Rams and the LA Chargers. They got a stadium there. So
Because I seem to remember even on a crazy Monday Night Football game, which many people considered one of the best Monday Night Football games ever, there were more Chiefs fans in the stadium than
the
Rams
chat
fans.
says Murph says absolutely would do that in a second. And Nathaniel says I would be happy to buy a Bears package. So yeah, I mean it's
NFL. I know you might not be listening, but seriously, team packages. You would make so much more money than just trying to push.
It's like a pay-per-view thing for that you get all year. That would be great.
I mean, hell, I think a lot of people would even go $10 a game every week. I think a lot of people would do that. That'd be like let's just say 150 for the season. That's $10 a game. I mean, you could do 75 per team package. You probably make it.
Well, this is interesting. Before we go, Murph says that he loves his Sunday ticket, but he could live without it if he could see every single Raider game. Chiefs fan, would you do that?
I would do that in a heartbeat because unfortunately, even though the Chiefs do have Patrick Mahomes and they're going to get a lot of national television experience, television time, not all their games are going to be in my area are going to be advertised. We've got a local team here. We're going to see the Bucks every week. Give me a chance to pick the team that I want to see.
So with YouTube here in the Fandom Podcast Network, we want to let people know that this is going to be exclusive to YouTube now. Our Endzone NFL podcast with our mediocre fantasy football advice, our Jimmy GQ Man Crush Award, and a bunch of other fun stuff that we will definitely be doing here is going to be YouTube exclusive. And of course, we'll send out notifications. We just ask one thing: please help subscribe. We're trying to get to that next tier, and we'd appreciate it if you're listening or if you're watching this. Please, subscribe to us. We appreciate it. So there you go.
Yeah, and especially tell your friends, tell people. We love to have the interaction, especially on the End Zone where we're talking fantasy football advice. We really love.
That's why I thank you guys in the chat for being there. It's a lot of fun to, for them to drop questions on us and also correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah, which that's Jen's job, but So with that, you know what, Kevin, it's great to be back here doing the End Zone. Hopefully we get a full season. Your black saber has no effect on me because I have the shield that is Mahomes that stops.
I can almost reach you. Here, let me get your ears.
Oh, wait. My back. Right here on my back, there's a spot. With that, everybody who's watching this later, thank you. Everybody who's been here live, thank you so much. You're still not worthy of that hammer. I don't care what you think.
Yes, Raider worthy of the hammer.
The season is here. And for all of you out there, especially with the way this year has been, I do hope that your team finds many ways to find the End Zone.
See you guys. Thank you.
All you people who've been live on the chat, thank you so much. We will see you guys later.